Mulholland Drive is, in a sense, a conspiracy film. Dark, inhuman forces control Hollywood, able to dictate the starting and stopping of major film sets, and hinge a director's life on his casting choices. Originally conceived by David Lynch as a TV pilot, Mulholland Drive follows Betty Elms on her journey to become a Hollywood star, and Rita, an amnesiac Betty finds in her shower. The film's scope is wider than just Betty and Rita, however. Numerous side characters build out Lynch's dreamlike vision of Hollywood, from the odd to the unexplainable. To avoid spoilers, and because I want to talk about Mulholland Drive in a slightly novel way, this video will look at 3 scenes from the film involving side characters, in an attempt to show the humor behind the more serious drama. Without further ado, here are 3 scenes from Mulholland Drive.
An accident like that, who could have foreseen that, man? It's unreal, right? Yeah.
2 men sit in a dingy apartment building, chatting over the story of a car crash. The first man, Ed, is animated, talking as if seeing an old friend for the first time in years.
What's up, bro? God, you look good. What have you been doing? Yeah, just doing some stuff for this guy. Yeah? Yeah. Are you making ends meet?
He carries a certain California guy energy, but it's charming. This is actor Vincent Castellanos, who appears in the film for this scene only. He is a means to an end for Joe, played by Mark Pellegrino, who has come to retrieve Ed's famous black book.
Hey, so that's it, huh? That's Ed's famous black book.
The history of the world. And phone numbers.
After killing Ed, he attempts to frame the scene as suicide, inadvertently shooting a woman through the wall. A man in the hallway with a vacuum cleaner spots Joe moving the woman, and he is killed too.
Hey, man.
Either out of frustration or in an attempt to speed things up, Joe shoots the vacuum cleaner, causing an electrical surge that sets off the building's fire alarm. Joe sighs, takes the black book, and leaves out the window. These are the men tasked with killing Rita, and one of them has already failed due to unforeseen circumstances. Theories abound as to why Joe kills Ed for failing to complete the job, but I'm going with this one. No one can know that Rita is alive, and Ed knows. Ed is a liability for the higher-ups and must be eliminated. The men's actions are dictated by a mysterious third party, a man named Mr. Roke who sits in a room with red curtains. In Mulholland Drive, Lynch doesn't need to invent a cosmic purgatory that secretly controls the world like he did in Twin Peaks. The possibility of that network already exists in Hollywood. Orders are handed out through phone calls and left unquestioned. The official nature and presentation of this chain of command makes the apartment scene all the more ironic. Joe and Ed are pictures of incompetence, buffoons with big responsibilities. Castellanos' facial expressions and line deliveries are some of the film's most out-of-place directing notes, but they add to the sense of informality.
Oh, that was just a thing, man. But that story, that made you laugh, right?
That was a funny story, man.
Fucking car accident.
And what really needs to be said about a guy like Joe?
Man, it's not that bad.
The more we see Joe throughout the film, the more his stupidity is given a spotlight. He can get a job done, better than Ed at least, but he's no less of an idiot. These are the pawns chosen by the real players, carrying out actions that will decide the course of the film, yet they can't seem to master their own surroundings. Perhaps this says something about the nature of the players and their own incompetence, and what Lynch thinks about them.
Yeah.
Acclaimed director Adam Kesher sits in a boardroom with his manager, in the process of recasting the lead actress in his film. 2 men from the studio sit on the other side of the table. One of them, Mr. Darby, is given a menu for coffee. His associate says,
"He's not gonna like it."
and Mr. Darby assures him otherwise. Two men known as the Castigliani brothers arrive, presenting Kesher with an actress's headshot. Mr. Darby offers the brothers coffee, and one accepts.
Espresso.
Nothing.
They have clearly offered the Castigliani brothers coffee before, presumably to poor results.
I think you're going to enjoy your espresso this time.
In the middle of discussing Camilla Rhodes, the coffee arrives.
Ray, take care of this.
Hold on, Adam.
Hold on? There's no way! There's no way!
The Castigliani brothers spits it out and tensions flare.
Shit.
I'm sorry. That was a highly recommended...
That is considered one of the finest espressos in the
Wait a
world,
minute, what
sir.
is going on here?
There is no way that girl is in my movie.
Coffee! This is the girl.
Hey, that girl is not in my film.
After protesting once more, Kesher is told,
It's no longer your film.
once again, the ridiculous nature of the cogs that power Hollywood are Lynch's comic well, likely drawing from real boardroom conversations.
There's 6 of the top actresses that want this thing. This is the girl.
There's an obvious meta quality to this scene, involving very real studio mandates and forced cooperation.
You're in the process of recasting your lead actress, and we're asking you to keep an open mind.
What's strange is that the girl in question, Camilla Rhodes, doesn't seem to be popular.
She's very pretty.
This isn't a case of the studio making a film mainstream by way of a bankable star, but of a favor performed for or by Camilla.
It's a recommendation.
The mysterious Mr. Roque is in control of the situation, handing out the girl to the Castigliani brothers. But why this girl, and why this film? Neither question is answered, but they're unimportant. This is happening whether Kesher likes it or not, and the audience knows as little as him.
What girl? For what? What is this, Ray?
Between subtle looks across the room and a golf club on the table, the scene is quite hard to take seriously. The audience is exactly with Kesher, perplexed and bewildered. Unlike the audience, however, Kesher is quick with a comeback.
May I offer you gentlemen anything?
Espresso.
Nothing.
What's the photo for?
Justin Theroux is stern and charming in the role, whom we'll see more of in the next scene. But here he isn't so put together.
What is going on here? There is no way that girl is in my movie.
When things break down, everyone gets in a good scream, and the scene ends with this man, the second Castigliani brother, speaking his first and only line.
It's no longer your film.
Foreboding and obvious. Kesher is clearly not in control, but the prospect of these men in the director's chair is somehow more frightening than the mystery surrounding them. In a plea to get his stalled film off the ground, Kesher drives to the top of Beechwood Canyon, where he is to meet a figure known as the Cowboy. Upon arriving, lights flicker and a man appears from out of frame wearing a 10-gallon hat and handkerchief.
Howdy.
Howdy to you.
He speaks to Kesher in a sarcastic tone, effectively telling him to fix his attitude if he wants his film to move forward.
Man's attitude goes some ways, the way his life will be.
Kesher responds quickly, eager to leave the situation and return to his film.
Now, did you answer because that's what you thought I wanted to hear? Or did you think about what I said and answer because you truly believe that to be right?
But the cowboy makes him wait.
I agree with what you said.
I want you to go back to work tomorrow. You were recasting the lead actress anyway. Auditioned many girls for the part. When you see the girl that was shown to you earlier today, you will say, "This is the girl." Now you will see me one more time if you do good. You'll see me 2 more times if you do bad. Good night.
The light flickers and goes out, and the cowboy vanishes, leaving Kesher alone with his thoughts. Lynch excels with metaphysical figures like the cowboy. Characters like the man in the red room and Frank Booth blow in like the wind, confusing and wrecking things for the protagonist, then vanish like mist. They seem to be ghosts, only visible to those they present themselves to, though there's no visual distinction between them and any other person. Mr. Roke's chain of command is absent from the scene, but the cowboy's promises come true, suggesting a higher power is at play.
What's on your mind?
Well, now, here's a man who wants to get right down to it. Kinda anxious to get to it, are you?
Played by Monty Montgomery, a frequent producer of Lynch's work, the dreamlike threats and orders the cowboy spells are incredibly awkward.
There's sometimes a buggy. How many drivers does a buggy have?
One.
So let's just say I'm driving this buggy, and if you fix your attitude, you can ride along with me.
Okay.
That's because Montgomery was reading from a piece of paper taped to Justin Theroux's chest, unable to recall his lines for long stretches of time.
Is that something you might agree with?
He taps into something, however, despite a lack of mastery.
Now, did you answer because that's what you thought I wanted to hear? Or did you think about what I said and answer because you truly believe that to be right?
There's a real arrogance to the cowboy, as if Kesher should have known how this meeting was going to go, but is instead making things deliberately harder.
What'd I say?
It makes it all the funnier when the cowboy accuses Kesher of a bad attitude, something a parent might say to a disobedient child. Once again, Kesher knows nothing, and the audience is as baffled by the cowboy as he, desperately trying to make sense of things so he can get back to work.
Okay. I'm thinking.
Like most encounters in Mulholland Drive, this scene asks more questions than it answers.
No, you're not thinking. You're too busy being a smart aleck to be thinking.
But this mix of befuddlement and humor keeps the film engaging.
Howdy.
Howdy to you.
Beautiful evening.
Plenty of great filmmakers deal with the metaphysical, or the seedy underbellies of industries like Hollywood, without the help of humor. But in these scenes, a divine aura of incompetence hangs over the characters, showing Lynch's idiosyncratic perception of Hollywood. There are few characters more perplexing in the film than Ed, Mr. Darby, and the cowboy, but Lynch had the sense to keep their scenes comedically in tune.
I agree with what you said. Truly.
What'd I say?
At the very least, they provide the viewer a laugh while they wait for an answer.
I'm interested in a humor that can sit next door to horror or fear or something more serious.